just going to do a quick hot topics, trending topics, kind of still on vacation mode. Yeah, have you ever felt that way? Just kind of just still wanted to chill. So we're going to get into some of the things that's going on. But like those, you guys come in. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21, where we talk hot topics, trending topics. We talk about what's going on around the world in the news, and we get into a few different things. So just allow me a few moments to get into my disclaimer, and then we're going to get into the video. So everyone, I know if I didn't go live today, it would really mess me up in the algorithm, so I had to go live. All comments are allegedly. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is used for copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for supporting the channel. We're going to go ahead and get into some of these clips, and I'm going to go ahead and do my other uh, please like the video. Hold on one second. There we go. Pin that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get into some of these clips.
Just got this statement from James, who said, "I'm heartened by today's victory and grateful for the prayers and support I have received from around the country. I remain fearless in the face of these baseless charges as I continue fighting for New Yorkers every day." Well, I'm not sure if that will stand if the DOJ finds a way to cure these charges and or the situation and refile the charges. But what would they need to do, Professor, to cure this problem?
Well, first of all, Letitia James might be celebrating a tad too early. The problems here are not with the charges themselves, but essentially with the cop, or in this case, the prosecutor. So the court is not saying that she was innocent of these charges. The court is simply saying that the person who signed off on the charges didn't have authority to do that. So the obvious thing here is to get someone who is lawfully in a position to perform this role.
Just got this statement in from Letitia James, who said, "I'm heartened by today's victory and grateful for the prayers and support I have received from around the country."
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their jobs, which is painful, but it preserved their integrity, which is beyond price. And I know they will serve again. I was very lucky that some of the best lawyers in America stepped forward to represent me. I hope they serve as an example to more and more lawyers, especially some of the big firms, to participate in protecting our liberty, protecting the rule of law. And my family and friends were always with me, and luckily for me, include some of those great lawyers. This case mattered to me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice. I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a process to target his political enemies. I don't care what your politics are, you have to see that as fundamentally un-American and a threat to the rule of law that keeps all of us free. I know that Donald Trump will probably come after me again, and my attitude is going to be the same. I'm innocent, I am not afraid, and I believe in an independent federal judiciary, the gift from our founders that protects us from a would-be tyrant. When I was a kid, my parents would wake us up for school every morning by snapping open the shades and saying, "Time to rise and shine and show the world what you're made of." Well, it's that time, America. It's time to stand up and show the fools who would frighten us, who would divide us, that we're made of stronger stuff, that we believe in the rule of law, that we believe in the importance of doing things by the law. So stand tall, shine, and keep the faith to target his political enemies. I don't care what your politics are, you have to see that as fundamentally un-American and a threat to the rule that keeps
Next
all of us.
clip.
Everybody knows that James Comey lied to Congress. It's as clear as day. And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling, and the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order. So maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap. Everybody knows that James Comey lied
Next
to Congress.
clip.
It's as
If I could just get your reaction to the James Comey, Letitia James cases being dropped today. Back in Washington, James Comey put out a video. He said this matters most because a message has to be sent. The President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies. Your reaction to the cases being dropped into that specific message?
Sure, we'll be taking all available legal action, including an immediate appeal, to hold Letitia James and James Comey accountable for their unlawful conduct.
What is your reaction to his statement?
I'm going to keep going on this. I'm not worried about someone who has been charged with a very serious crime. His alleged actions were a betrayal of public trust.
If I could just get your reaction to the
Next
James
clip.
Comey, Letitia James cases being.
So as we know, we're going to finish with the news. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing.
Mr. James, both targets of President Trump.
Hold on one second.
Dismissed. The U.S. District Judge concluded yesterday that the prosecutor has secured the charges against them. Interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan. To our top story, federal judge has ruled the charges against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, both targets of President Trump, be dismissed. The U.S. District Judge concluded yesterday that the prosecutor who secured the charges against them, interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, was unlawfully appointed.
Who could have seen that coming, Will?
The Attorney General's authority to appoint an interim U.S. attorney lasts for a total of 120 days. The judge concluded that Halligan has been unlawfully serving since September 22nd. Comey was indicted September 25th and James charged October 9th. Halligan is a former Trump aide and personal lawyer with no prosecutorial experience. She secured the indictments of Comey and James over objections from career prosecutors. Comey had pleaded not guilty to lying to Congress and obstruction, while James pleaded not guilty to bank fraud. One key caveat, though, the indictments were dismissed without prejudice, which means they could theoretically be refiled by a lawful prosecutor. Attorney General Pam Bondi vowed the Department of Justice would appeal the ruling. There is response this morning from different news organizations like the Wall Street Journal. The editorial board there has a new piece entitled "The Gang That Couldn't Indict Straight." It reads in part, quote, "President Trump's lawfare revenge tour has gone bust. This is what happens when officials don't follow legal procedure. They lose cases. Mr. Trump was so eager to indict his enemies, and Attorney General Pam Bondi was so quick to go along, that it all unraveled at the pull of one legal thread. The Trump administration could refile charges, though the statute of limitations may have expired in Mr. Comey's case. If Mr. Trump tries again, he might end up with cases that are two-time legal losers."
And Willie, the judge yesterday, this viral shower head boosts water pressure.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Let's continue fair use.
Yesterday, proving Alexander Hamilton proud, who said an independent judiciary may be the weakest branch of government, but in the Federalist Papers, he said its independence was absolutely crucial to being able to do its job. And yesterday, Hamilton would have been very pleased. A federal judge ruled the executive branch unconstitutionally exceeded its power.
And its independence has been in question lately as President Trump puts in loyalists to big positions, big jobs, like Lindsay Halligan into this job. But now the judge herself stepping in to say, no, this is not how it works, Lisa. So the Judge Curry didn't even really get at the fact that the case was presented perhaps incorrectly, to put it mildly. Basically said Lindsay Halligan should not have been there in the first place.
Yeah.
Therefore, the charges are thrown out.
This is perhaps, and I know this is going to be shocking, the least embarrassing way that these cases could have gone away for the Department of Justice. Because if you think about Comey in particular, he had multiple other pending motions, all of which stem from some alleged misconduct by the Department of Justice.
I was curious, why do you think Judge Curry decided to give them, let's just say, the most tactful procedural route out? the courthouse doors.
Well, Judge Curry is not the judge in either of these cases. She was deputized by the Court of Appeals to handle these particular motions because the district judges under the statute have a role to play themselves when there's a vacancy in a U.S. attorney's job. So Judge Michael Nachmanoff has the Comey case, Judge Jamel Walker has the Tish James case, and Judge Curry sort of stepped in, I think, Willie, in large part because she wanted to show people this is not about embarrassing the Department of Justice. This is black and white.
This is procedural.
This
Couldn't do it.
Correct. But I want to say one other thing, which is that the Comey and James cases are differently situated here in a way. In a footnote, she is suggesting you cannot rebring the Comey case because it's not just a function of the fact that Lindsay Halligan was unlawfully appointed. If she was, in fact, unlawfully appointed, the Comey indictment was void from the outset. The statute of limitations passed, and there's nothing to correct. There's nothing to be
I want
done.
to ask you about this because we had a conversation earlier. In some cases, if there is an error by the Justice Department before the statute of limitations runs, you get an additional 30 days or so, even after the court throws that case out, to get what our law professors would call a second bite at the apple.
Yep.
In this case, though, there is the suggestion that may not happen. Explain further.
So you're right to say there is a statute that gives the Department of Justice a 6-month grace period where a case is thrown out for reasons other than statutes of limitation. But that assumes that there was a proper charging instrument in the very beginning. Here what she's saying is Lindsay Halligan was the sole prosecutor to make the presentation to the grand jury, the only person to sign the indictment. That is the fatal flaw here. Had, for example, career prosecutors done that work on behalf of the U.S. Attorney's Office, we would not be talking about the same solution, I don't think. But again, going back to the Comey case, if you think that both of these indictments are void from the outset, because the Comey statute of limitations passed on September 30th, that means that they let that door swing shut, as she notes in a footnote.
There's also a bad faith argument. I mean, an argument of bad faith here, right? And Donald Trump, as he usually does, has laid it all out on X, saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, or Truth Social, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You better prosecute him fast, hurry up, because the statute of limitations is running out. Time is running out, Donald Trump says. Everybody refuses. Donald Trump fires him, brings in somebody new, illegally. And then she files it for that purpose, to beat the statute of limitations. I just don't know another judge that would look at the set of those circumstances and just say, we're sorry, but basic fairness would not allow us to extend the statute of limitations when you acted in such bad faith to beat the statute of limitations in the first place.
This all comes from the Truth Social.
And illegally doing it.
The Truth Social post, it was meant to be a DM. It's sent out to everyone to see, where he is urging the Attorney General to push forward on this. And it's connected, this whole idea of retribution. This Mark Kelly matter that we'll speak to in a moment. So Ken Delaney, I wanted to go to you now. Take us behind the scenes at the Justice Department. How yesterday is being received. We heard from the Attorney General suggesting that she obviously disagrees with what happened. Give us your best reporting as to what DOJ's next steps may be, or are they going to take another bite at the apple in both cases?
Yeah, this is a devilish problem for Pam Bondi, Jonathan, because look, the biggest question here is how much more embarrassment can the Justice Department stand in courtrooms as this retribution campaign falls apart? Because, of course, this is only the beginning. If somehow this is reversed, as you guys alluded to, there are many more, even more embarrassing things to come along the lines of this case in terms of a judge ruling potentially that this was a vindictive prosecution or that the indictment was improperly presented by Lindsay Halligan. And so the question is, is the DOJ learning any lessons from this? And the reaction in MAGA world, though, is pretty defiant. And Lisa Rubin and I learned last night that after briefly taking Lindsay Halligan's name off of some of the indictments that were coming out of the Eastern District of Virginia, or intending to do that, a decision was made to restore her name, almost in defiance of the court's ruling. It hasn't been appealed yet. And so some people inside the DOJ looked at that as kind of a middle finger to the judge there, putting Lindsay Halligan's name back on the document as the U.S. attorney. And so that gave us a little clue that in some corners of the Justice Department, there remains a determination to continue to pursue these cases at their peril.
Really, it's just, again,
the biggest lash application you'll ever experience.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here.
Well,
again, the short-sightedness.
If they took her off, that would maybe be an admission.
Yeah, but they're going to keep losing. These people are the Washington Generals of basketball. They lose, they just keep losing.
I think they're hoping that one time the Generals won by mistake and got in trouble for it. They're hoping for that one victory. Sam Stein, I mean, if you look at where this is right now, I know that it's sort of the Trump MAGA ethos to not admit defeat, to never apologize, never walk away. But at some point, do they come to their senses and say, okay, this is a fight we're probably not going to win, whether it's on procedural matters or on statute of limitations, whatever it's going to be. Do you sense that this campaign of retribution, they might take a loss on this one anyway and walk away?
No, not really. That's not in their DNA, honestly. They're going to get a lot of pressure from different factions of their base to, get some conviction of someone at some point. And remember, they've been promising to lock people up for years. And if you follow the sort of online rumblings, there is real anger and frustration that this stuff is not happening. People wondering whether Pam Bondi should lose her job over this, for instance. But I go back to sort of the main point that Joe's bringing up, and it ties all this stuff together, which is at some point you begin to look back and step back and you say, there's a bit of an amateur hour element to this. They're chasing shiny objects, obviously, but if you just tie the Pete Hegseth stuff around Mark Kelly, if you tie the rush process to put Lindsay Halligan in the interim appointment and then file these already dubious charges against James Comey and Letitia James, and the story we haven't even discussed yet, but a third one, which is the introduction over the weekend of a Obamacare subsidy deal that they hadn't even briefed House Republicans on, that they then had to take back. Because there was so much revulsion in the House over it. If you look at those three things, in each case, the through line is that they're doing things in an unprofessional manner in a way that's blowing up in their faces. And this was supposed to be the White House, the version 2.0, that was a more professionalized operation that had learned their mistakes. And you're starting to see some of that, you're starting to see some chinks in the veneer basically here, where it's like maybe this White House actually doesn't have its stuff together.
So Lisa Rubin buttoned this up for us in the case of Comey and Letitia James. Where do these go?
Well, we're waiting to see when the Department of Justice is going to appeal. Caroline Leavitt promised yesterday that was coming. I was hitting refresh as we started the show this morning to see if that appeal is yet been filed, and it hasn't. In the meantime, as Ken noted, we have evidence that Lindsay Halligan is insisting on continuing to call herself the United States Attorney, not a special attorney as Pam Bondi has designated her, and not any other interim title that would allow her to maintain control of the office, but defiantly continuing to call herself the United States Attorney, even in court filings. That is the directive to career prosecutors in that office well before the appeal is filed, well before any stay has been applied for from the Federal Court of Appeals.
Okay, we'll be watching MS Now senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin. Thank you.
Okay, just wanted to do a quick live. I thank everyone for being here. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21, where we talk hot topics, trending topics. Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great day. Goodbye. Be blessed.